Okay, so we're going to pick it up from the Mishnah, Daf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph. A lot of these concepts from the Mishnah we've already had. The Mishnah said, "Koinam peres ha'elu alai." If a person says, these fruits are koinam to me, koinam hein alpi, they're koinam to my mouth, koinam hein lofi, these fruits are koinam. Aser b'chilufeihem, not only are you not allowed to eat the fruit, but because you use the lashon of koinam, which is borrowed from a lashon of the carbon, so the same way by hegdish is toifes damim, which means that if you exchange hegdish for cash, the cash are also holy. So too it is with peris. These fruits are aser, and if you exchange the fruits for anything, meaning you exchange the fruits for money or for another item, the money and the other item are also aser. Ubigduleihem, and you're also not allowed to benefit from the growth, meaning if you take that fruit and plant it and then it grows, it's a problem. That's because you said koinam. But if you say she'ani oichol, if you see fruits are koinam that I won't eat it, or she'ani tayim, fruits are koinam that I won't taste, so you didn't say the fruit is koinam, you said the fruit is koinam regarding eating, so then mutter b'chilufeihen u'b'geduleihem, then you're allowed to benefit from the exchange, from the growth. Now, so you see right now, so if you said koinam peres ha'elu alai, so it's aser b'chilufeihem u'b'geduleihem, but if you say shani tayim, shani oichel, it's mutter b'chilufeihem u'b'geduleihem. Now, in all scenarios, you're allowed to have what's called, you're allowed to benefit from giduleihem, meaning, even in the first case where you said koinam peres ha'elu alai, which is the most strict case, even in that case, you're not allowed to have, and then you plant, let's say you plant the seed, right? So you say you're not going to benefit from this seed, whatever, from this food, and you plant it in the ground, so you're not allowed to benefit from the growth. But if you take the growth and replant the growth, so the second thing that grows, that's called giduleihem, that's definitely allowed to benefit from. But says the Mishnah, B'davar shezarikala. When is it true that you're allowed to benefit from giduleihem? When you said konam peres ha'elu alai? And when are you allowed to benefit from the growth when you said koinam hein lafi? That's dafka with a type of seed that decomposes. You see, most plants, when you plant them, or seeds, when you plant them, the seed decomposes. So what grows is really considered a new entity. So therefore, giduleihem is going to be allowed. But b'davar she'ein zarei kala, but if you have something that the plant doesn't grow, doesn't decompose, meaning by onions, specifically onions, I'm not sure of other examples. The Gemara gives an example of an onion. If you take an onion and plant it in the ground, what happens is it creates more bulbs, but the original bulb does not die. It doesn't decompose. So b'davar she'ein zarei kala afilu giduleihem aser. The Mishnah is telling us that when it comes to the onion, because the original thing that you asered, when you plant it in the ground, it still exists, all growth is considered extension of the original, and because the original is still in existence, all growth is aser. It doesn't matter whether you said koinam ein lafi, it doesn't matter whether you said koinam she'ani tayim, it doesn't matter whether it's gedulim or giduleihem. In all scenarios, it's going to be a problem. Okay. That's the halacha when you aser seed, when you aser fruits or vegetables. So the Mishnah says the exact same halacha, but instead of asering fruits and vegetables, if someone says to his wife, I'm koinam that I won't benefit from your whatever you do for a living, and let's say she uses that money to get fruit. So let's say for a living she's paid in fruit. So you're not allowed to eat the fruit. So koinam hein lafi, aser b'chilufeihen u'b'geduleihen. So not only are you not allowed to benefit from her profession and the money that she makes, you're not allowed to benefit from the chilufein, the exchange, and also if she planted, let's say she got paid from her work, she planted, or forget about a job, let's say at home she planted a garden and she made cucumbers, you're not allowed to eat the cucumbers, and if you plant the cucumbers, you're not allowed to eat the growth that the cucumber seeds give off. Shani oichel v'shani tayim, but if you said shani tayim, shani oichel, then it's allowed. B'davar shezarei kala. This is only true regarding produce that decomposes. She'ein zarei kala, but if you have fruit that doesn't decompose, like an onion, afilu giduleihem aser, it's going to be a problem. Even giduleihem is the exact same halacha as the first case. Fine. New halacha. Shat oisa eni oichel at a Pesach. If a person says to his wife, whatever you make, I will not eat until Pesach, Shat oisei miskas at Pesach, and whatever clothing you make, I will not wear until Pesach. So you asered her items until Pesach. You gave an end date. So asel lefnei Pesach, butel echel skasas achar Pesach. So you're allowed to eat it, and you're allowed to wear it after Pesach because you said it's aser until Pesach. This is pretty pashut, but after Pesach it's allowed. But if you said Shat oises a Pesach in yoichel, if instead of saying it's aser till Pesach, you said whatever you make until Pesach is aser forever, Shat oises a Pesach ein miskasa, or if you say until whatever you make until Pesach I will not wear, that implies that it's aser forever. Then aser lefnei Pesach, aser le'echel skasas achar Pesach. That you're never allowed to benefit if she made it before Pesach. If you say to her whatever clothing you make before Pesach I will never wear, so that if she makes it before Pesach you're not going to wear it. You're not allowed to wear it even after Pesach. Fine. The Mishnah says that this we've had before in Daf Tesvav. This was a sugya Daf Tesvav we went through Barichus. The Mishnah says Shatnenes li ada Pesach. The case is basically a guy wants to prevent his wife from going to her father's house. So he says Shatnenes li ada Pesach. If a person says to his wife before Pesach that whatever you make until Pesach is aser to me, whatever benefit whatever money I bring in, whatever, you're aser to me until Pesach. If you go to your father's house anytime from now until Sukkot, you can't benefit from me until Pesach. So let's say during Adar, he says to his wife, all the money I'm bringing in for the next month is aser to you if you go to your parents' house in the next 7 months until Sukkot. So the halacha is so if she goes to her parents' house before Pesach, asur banos ada Pesach, she's not allowed to benefit until Pesach. Go to the next page. But lachar Pesach, if she went after Pesach, but bal yichal, then retroactively, whatever she benefited is going to be asur. Meaning, if she goes until Pesach, so then she's asur right away with what she benefited. If she goes until Sukkot, then retroactively she's going to be asur. Meaning, in other words, if she goes until Sukkot, it's going to be a problem. Now, in Daf Tezvav, we had a sugya. The sugya was, is she allowed to benefit from the husband until Pesach and then trust herself not to go to her parents' house? That was a machloikes, amiroyim, whether we trust her to start to benefit and then avoid the triggering of the Isser of going to her parents' house until Sukkot. So that was a machloikes, amiroyim. The last case of the Mishnah, Shatnenes li ada chag. It's the opposite, which is that he says to his wife, you're not allowed to benefit from me until Sukkot, over the next 7 months. If you go to your father's house in the next month, this is during Adar. So during Adar, he says to her, if you go to your parents' house until Pesach, meaning in the next month, if you go home, you're not allowed to benefit from me over the next 7 months. So Pesach, if she goes before Pesach, she's not allowed to benefit because it triggered the Isser. But if she didn't go before Pesach, it's fine. She could go after Pesach because the stipulation was she is not allowed to travel home until Pesach. After Pesach, she's allowed to travel home, and there's no the Isser cannot be triggered. Okay. So one quick sugya of this oven. The Mishnah said, fine. So we had a basic premise of the Mishnah was that if you have an onion, which you made aser, and then you plant it, because the bulb doesn't decompose, it just grows more bulbs on top of it, then it's going to be aser b'gidulehen, b'gidulehen. So the Gemara has the following discussion. Yishmol ish kfar yama, v'amila ish kfar diyama. Yishmol, by the village of the sea, hela biyodoi, he had the following shaila. Betzel sh'akre b'shviyas, you have an onion that you pulled out during Shemitah, so it's a Shemitah onion. So it has the halachas of Shemitah. And then you take that onion and you replant it in the ground the next year. So, what happens is, as I said, the original bulb doesn't decompose, it just grows more bulbs. So the original bulb is a Shemitah bulb. But the new onions that grow on top of it are growing now, in the 8th year. So the question is, do we say, V'rabu gedulav alikroi, and the new growths are bigger than the original onion? So Hachi coming by, listen to the kasha. Do we say Gidul of Heter, the new growth is mutter because it grew in the 8th year, the Ikroi Aser, and the original onion is Aser because it's a Shemitah onion. But the question is, do we say that it's batal? Meaning, do we say that because the growth that's from the 8th year, which is mutter, is bigger than the original, do we say that it's mevatalit? And do we say that even the original onion will become mutter and it's batal to the 8th year onion? That's the question. That's the shayla of the Gemara. Meaning, do we say the rule of bittul? Okay. All right. Fine. That's the Gemara shayla. Do we say that? I'm sorry. Kiva de Rabbi Gedul me'ikroi. Oisa Gedule had to mile the. Do we say that the new stuff is going to be mevatel the original and it's all mutter, or oiloi, or no? Perhaps the new stuff is also usher because it's considered an outgrowth of the second. I mean, that's basically the shayla. Do you look at the new growth as an extension of the original? If the original is usher, then the new growth is usher, or do you say no? You look at the new growth as heter, and adarabah, it's so great it could be mevatel the original. That's the Gemara shayla. By the way, the Rishonim do question about what exactly is the Gemara shayla. I mean, according to the Ran, the options are: is the new growth usher, or is the new growth not only is it mutter, it's able to mevatel the original. Other Rishonim, Tosfos, he has a different shot. He says, so if you look at Tosfos says, Tosfos is a long Tosfos. Tosfos basically says everyone agrees that new growth is going to be mutter. The only question is it mevatel the original or not? Okay. That's the question. The question is, what is the status of the new growth? Asla kam de Rabbi, he asked Rabbi Lev Yad, Rabbi didn't know. Asla kam de Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, he asked Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha also. So Pashal min Hada, he answered it for the following source. Now, well, let's go with Tosfos' pshat. The shaila is, the new growth is definitely mutter. The question is it mevatel the original or not? That's the shaila. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Actually, let's go with the Ran's pshat. I'm sorry to be confusing. A little under the weather. The Ran's pshat is that the new growth. The shaila is, what is the status of the new growth? Is the new growth aser because it's an extension of the original, or is it mutter? Not only mutter, is it mevatel the original? Those are two choices. So he asked Rav Yitzchak Nafcha. Rav Yitzchak Nafcha answered it for the following teaching. Rav Chanina Trisam Rav Yanai Batzil shel Truma shenatu. If you have an onion of Truma that was planted, the Rabbi Gedula val Ikroi, and the new growth exceeded the original, mutter. The entire onion is mutter, meaning it's no longer Truma. So you see that not only is the new growth mutter, the new growth is able to mevatel the original. So if you have an onion of Truma, right, you separate onion for Truma, then you plant in the ground, the new growth is not Truma, not only is it not Truma, it's mevatel the original. So you see that it's the new growth is not an extension of the original, and it's mevatel it. That was Rav Yanai's teaching. Other Rav Yirmiyah v'Tem Rav Zreika Shavik Mar Train v'Avid B'Chad. Rav Yirmiyah said to Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, you quoted Rav Yanai, which is one opinion, to be lenient, but why did you skip over two Amoraim who are Machmer? Meaning you followed one Amora to permit it. Why didn't you follow the two Amoraim who are Machmer? What are the two Amoraim? Maninu Trey. Where are these two Amoraim who are Machmer? Again, Rav Yanai held that the new growth is mutter and it's able to mevatel the original. That's one teaching. It's one Amora. So Rav Yirmiyah said, I can find you two Amoraim who are Machmer. So why are you following one when you can follow two? What are the two? Let's go with the first one. Dam Rav Avoam Rav Yechon. Rav Yechon, it says, Yalda shesivcha bizkena. If you have a young tree, so you have a baby tree, so it's within the first 3 years, so the fruit of the baby tree is considered arla, and you grafted it onto an older tree, which is not arla, uba peris, and there's fruit on the young tree at the time, so you have basically a young tree which has arla connected to an older tree. Even though the new tree grew 200 times more fruit, it's still aser. Why? Because you see, meaning basically you have over here, you have a baby tree which is arla, and you grafted it onto an older tree. So you have, it's sort of like planting the onion. The new growth is not arla. The new growth is older. And yet, it's still the arla. The tree is still considered arla. Why? Because we don't look at the new growth as mutter, we look at the new growth as an extension of the original. And because the original is arla, the new growth is also arla. So you see that the new growth is not mutter, and it doesn't nullify the original. So that's one teaching of an amora to be machmer. V'amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani Rav Yonasan, a second one, batzal shenatu bekerem, if you have an onion that was planted in a vineyard and became kalayim, and it's aser, v'nekar akerem, and then you uprooted the vineyard, so the onion continued to grow, meaning you have an onion there, you plant a vineyard near it, so it makes the onion kalayim. Then you remove the vineyard, and the onion continues to grow aser. The new growth is aser because the original is kalayim. The new growth is aser. So you see again, the new growth cannot nullify the original. So you have two teachings. So you have two amoraim who are machmer. One amora is lenient. Hadar asla kavder Rav Ami. Then Yishmael asked Rav Ami, upashli min adar. Rav Ami give his own answer about the shaila of whether the new growth is able to move out of the original. Dam Rav Yitzchak Rav Yochanan, litra b'tzalim shetikna. Rav Yochanan said, litra b'tzalim shetikna. So this is two opinions in the name of Rav Yochanan. Okay, so you have a litra, a certain amount of onions that were not separated for Trumas and Meisers, v'zara, and it was planted, misasheres lafi kula. The halacha is, I'm sorry, hold on one second. Yeah, I'm sorry. So the Gemara says, litra b'tzalim shetikna. You have a litra of b'tzalim that you separated Trumas and Meisers. So originally there was no Trumas and Meisers separated, but then you separated Trumas and Meisers. So you have onions that Trumas and Meisers were separated, v'zara, and then you replant the onions. The halacha is misasheres lafi kula. The halacha is that when you separate Truma and Meisers for the second time from the new growth, you have to separate it for the original onion as well. So let's say you had 50 onions that you replanted, and the Truma was already separated from the 50 onions, and then it regrew to 200. So you had 50 of the original, which was already taken care of, and then you have 150 new onions. The halacha is you have to separate Truma and Meiser for 200 onions. The original 50 you already separated. The answer is the new growth is considered a new entity, and it's mevatel the original. So normally when it's mevatel the original, it's to be lenient. Over here it's to be machmer, meaning the new growth is untithed. It's not separated Trumas Meisers, and it's mevatel the original, which Truma and Meiser was separated. What do you see? You see that the new growth is considered a separate entity, and it's mevatel the original. So over here it's being machmer, but in other places to be mekel. So that was his answer. The Gemara answers dilma l'chum rashadi. Perhaps no. Perhaps. Again, the Gemara wanted to bring a proof from that halacha of Rav Yochanan that the new growth is considered a new entity and it's mevatel the original. What was the halacha of Rav Yochanan? Again, you have 50 onions that you already separate Trumas and Meises. You replant them and it grows to 150 more onions. So, do you separate Trumas and Meises on 150 or on 200? Rav Yochanan said on 200. Why? Because the new growth, which was not separate Trumas and Meises, is considered a new entity, and it's mevatel the original. So you see, it's mevatel the original. The Gemara says no. Perhaps in general, it's not mevatel the original. And over here, we're just being machmer. Over here, by it being mevatel the original, you have to say Trumas on 200 onions. So over here, it's being machmer. In general, maybe we don't say that it's mevatel the original to be lenient. Maybe we only say it to be machmer. So it's unclear of what the halacha would be in other circumstances. This is not fair to apply it to other cases because all you see from this sugya is that we're going to treat the new growth as a new entity in mevatel the original only regarding being machmer, but I don't know if we would say that to be lenient. I will stop here and pick it up tomorrow.